Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's our pleasure to welcome Justin Rose to the press room. Justin, as of yesterday, you're back as #1 player in the world. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've had several strong finishes here at Augusta National, including runner-up finishes in 2015 and 2017, and 5 top 10s. Tell us about your preparations coming in this year, and especially having your caddy, Mark Fulcher, back on the bag after being out 3 months with heart surgery.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Tom. It's always great to be back this time of year. Fuch is back on the bag this week, which has sort of been a long-awaited arrival for him. And I know time's gone very slowly for him. He's been sort of chomping at the bit to get back. And he's stayed very much integrated and engaged in my game. One of his best mates out here on tour is Gareth Lord, and they've been communicating a lot with what's been going on. And Fuch has come down to see me on my weeks off on a couple of occasions. And he even came. Once he knew he was looking good to caddy this week, which was his ultimate goal. He came out to Austin, Texas to kind of get some of the back slapping out the way and Fuch, how you doing out the way. So, we could focus on business this week, which was smart of him. And, I'm excited. And, you mentioned the world #1. I mean, that's obviously cool, but it was a fun little story that Fuch said to Lordy, you've got one job, just give him back to me as world #1. So the fact that the rankings switched this week was kind of a nice touch.
That's great. All right, questions. Gary.
Justin, your record here was just alluded to is so good. What comfort did you get early here, and what comfort came late?
I think the comfort came pretty early. I was 22 years old, I think, in 2003 when I played my first Masters, and I was paired with Adam Scott and Charles Howell, who are two good friends of mine out on tour. And I had a tough two-putt on #9 to make the cut. I was on the wrong tier and had to two-putt it because when you come to the Masters, or certainly back in the day, it felt like if you make the cut as a first-timer, that's a good result. So that's what happened for me in my first Masters. Made the cut and kind of felt like it was a good positive experience and thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I think it was 2004. I was leading through 2 rounds. Shot a great first round, backed it up with a good second round, and then shot 81 on the third day, which was kind of obviously disappointing, but just really taught me a lot about this golf course. Gave me such great, valuable experience and insights into how to play it, how not to play it, and how it can kind of trick you and bully you a little bit at times. So a couple of awesome experiences really early, and then from that point on, I've just continued to be learning and trying to apply what I've learned year on year. And in recent years, I've given myself a couple of good chances, been in that final group on Sunday a couple of times and played well on both occasions. Obviously, came up against Jordan, who was making everything in 15, and Sergio and I, it was like a flip of a coin who was going to come out on top there. So, I just, it's one of those places that I guess you just, I get insight. Guys talk about a course that fits their eye, and I think this is one for me that I like all the shots out there.
Doug.
Justin, do you find when it's a close one like it was with Sergio in 17, did you find yourself thinking about it more the next morning or say 6 months from then?
I felt like that was the first major I've been close to and not won, really like a heartbreaker. So it was the first, and I think, I took comfort in the fact that you can't get through a career without something like that happening. So just kind of deal with it and move on. You're not the first person, you won't be the last. So just kind of get on with it. So that was my attitude to it. And it never really, I felt like I woke up and there wasn't like a hole, in the heart, or I wasn't missing anything. But then when something would trigger a memory, it would be, it was a bit of a downer maybe for a few months there. But it just taught me when you win a tournament, it's, you need that little bit of, luck on your side. And I think I've had it many times in my career. But, Henrik Stenson pointed out that in Rio, I rode my luck against him a couple of times and, skipped my ball through a couple of fairways and a few bushes here and there and, came out on top. And Sergio obviously had a break at 13 and the way it goes sometimes when you win. So I think, Henrik, my point of the story is Henrik pointing that out to me kind of made it much easier to kind of accept and swallow that I've had my moments where I've, ridden my luck, and this was one that maybe just kind of went against me, but you've got to keep putting yourself in those positions.
Richard.
Justin, you've done so well here for so long. Where's your confidence level as you begin practice round this year?
Yeah, confidence is up there for sure. I feel like I've had a decent year so far. I've had enough good golf to give me confidence, and I've had enough poor golf to keep me working hard, which is kind of sometimes a good place to be as well, because, if the game comes sometimes too easily and results are just happening, you can sometimes, you don't get lazy by any means, but you don't quite know where the next level for improvement is. You're not forced to look inward. And I had a bit of a bad run coming off a month off. Bay Hill, first round of players, 3 bad rounds in a row, which kind of lit a bit of a fire under me to start working hard. And I've started to see the results as of late.
In the back, David.
Justin, I wonder if you could speak to the intimidation factor of the very first hole here, how difficult it is, why it's difficult, the atmosphere of it as well.
Yeah, so it's a really good tee shot for a start. That bunker's just in the right spot. If you hit 3-wood, you can keep it short of the bunker, but then you got obviously an extra 20, 30 yards off an upslope into maybe a semi-blind green. If you hit driver, the fairway narrows. The left trees can come in if you're trying to avoid the bunker pretty quickly. Excuse me. So the tee shot's just perfect from that point of view. And then the second shot really is you can hit it into the middle of the green, and then if there's any pin sort of on the front side, certainly front left, you've got a really, really tough 2-putt. And then basically if you just miss that green, it's such a tough green to up and down the ball. I think that's the point. The strategy for me there is middle of the green and then do your best to 2-putt it and walk to the second hole.
Paul.
Justin, world number one's oddly enough struggled here a little bit. It's been quite a long time since world number one won, I think. And does that status prey on your mind at all when you're out there, or is it just a sort of historical oddity, really?
I don't. DJ's been the world number one predominantly in the last year and a half. When I think that the weeks that I am number one, it's really cool. I feel like I haven't had my run yet where I've sort of separated myself as the number one player in the world. That's, a goal of mine still. So, I don't look at it that way really, at all. So no one's really been that dominant right now. I think if anyone's been dominant, it's probably been Rory in the last sort of couple of months. Hence why the ranking between Brooks, myself, Justin, even going back to Justin Thomas, it's bounced around a lot. So, from that point of view, I'm not going to take on that story.
Bill.
Justin, you spoke of learning the course. How much of that education involved the greens in there? And is there ever a point where a player really feels like you have these things figured out?
You never do, because things change just subtly throughout the week. So you can have it dialed in, you feel like on Thursday maybe, and then by Sunday it can be a different golf course. And you can never really learn the read on a putt, because if the greens roll a foot quicker on the weekend, the break is double on occasion. Certainly if you have a putt that's 2 feet of break, it's now breaking maybe 3 feet just with the speed of the green. So you can never really get completely comfortable, but I think the experience tells you of knowing which putts to respect and maybe where to make a good calculated guess on the break, where to play a little higher and dive it in. So, experience really plays a part, but I don't think you can ever really have it 100% figured out.
Steve.
Yeah, Justin, I was curious about your initial impressions of number 5, and also given the added degree of difficulty there, how does that little corner of the golf course, maybe of 4, 5, 6, maybe compare in difficulty to a more famous one, Amen corner?
Yeah, I think 4 and 5 have historically been some of the tougher holes on the golf course, for sure. I think number 5 is going to probably play the toughest hole now, for sure. So for me, I've always felt like with number 6 on the back end, and even number 1, if you look at number 1 being a tough hole, if you can get it through 6 holes even par, it's a great start. Even 1 over par through 6, it's a good start. So that's going to be even more so this year, given the 5th hole changing. I hit driver 4 iron today and hit a good drive. That makes it much tougher, because I feel like now you're having to maybe think about, especially, there's a bit of rain coming possibly, but if it did firm up a touch, now you're thinking about hitting, a long iron and kind of running it up a bit more link style up onto that green, whereas the hole was just short enough before where you were always hitting a mid iron or 7, 6 iron, and always trying to land it up on the top for the most part. Only if you're out of position where you're having to run it up that ridge. So I think the extra length, you might see a lot more link style running shots. That's how I see the design of it anyway. Whether the conditions will allow that, we'll see.
Neil.
Justin, just coming back to Fuch, you played here so many times, and you have the experience of playing Augusta National, and you do it really well. And Fuch has been with you most of the times. But does he still surprise you on the golf course by some of his nuggets or some of his, wisdom on the golf course? And how much of a help will he be, even though you're playing, I don't know, since the last 17 years on this golf course?
I think I feel like we've learned together so much here. I don't think I would expect a nugget of information that I didn't know, to come out during practice. Where Fuch is going to earn his money and earn his position on the bag and earn his importance on the team is on Saturday and Sunday. Basically, when emotions start to get more intense and there's more variability from that point of view, that's when I'm going to rely on him more and more. I think I'm very comfortable. If I had anybody caddy for me Thursday, Friday, I'd probably be in good shape and feel very comfortable. But it's when the going gets tough. That's when I think having someone who knows you so well, and we have so many positive experiences out there under pressure that we can draw on together. That's where Fuch is going to come into his own for me.
Let's go to Neil now.
Justin, when you've been number one on several occasions, do you ever get blasé about that achievement, or do you make a point of making sure that you remind yourself that being the best at something on the planet's quite an achievement?
No, you certainly don't get blasé about it, but I think that I never stop telling myself of how you get to number one, and that's by moving forward, continue to improve, and through good results. So, I have won as well, number one, which was something that was important to me. I was able to do that in San Diego this year, but clearly to win a major as number one would be even more fantastic. And so, I use it as maybe a little inspiration, certainly not as sort of expectation, I don't think, but no, I always look at myself and think, okay, can I still get better? Yes, I can. That's what really motivates me, is finding gaps in my game and trying to fill those gaps. So the ranking is kind of it's a moment in time where I've just done a better job than everybody else over a 2-year period. It's not that reflective in terms of this minute. It's a 2-year reflection. So I look at the next 2 years and how can I improve on the previous 2.
Anne.
Along the same line, Justin, do you have a number in mind of major titles you feel you should win that would satisfy you based on your talent?
I would take 4, as long as it's one of each. That'd be awesome. That'd be enough. That'd be great. So I'd love just to say the word multiple, to be honest with you. I've got 1, but I've seen some guys, go through a career and not be able to get that elusive, first major, and no doubt it's a hole and a gap in any career if you don't get it done. But certainly I'd love just to use the word multiple, and then we'll keep staying motivated and keep trying to push the boundaries from there.
Mark.
Justin, with regard to Corey Connors' win yesterday in San Antonio, I just wonder how much you paid attention to that and his story and, Monday qualifying and getting the last invite here, and just what your appreciation maybe as a golf fan of that is.
Yeah, no, I saw the last few holes, and just, he made some clutch putts and great swings down the stretch. And I actually didn't realize what a roller coaster of a day he'd had. I checked the scores with 4 or 5 holes to play, and that's about the only time I watch golf, is the last 4 or 5 holes, because I think that's the only time I can really learn from other guys on tour and see what I'm going up against. And it was great to see, his wife's reaction out there. I loved the cameras being on her, and you could just tell what a big moment it was for the two of them. And it's very special to see those stories out there, because winning is difficult, and it's nice to see it when it does change someone's life, so to speak. So, that the status that he's now going to have guaranteed for a couple of years is huge. And, he's a lovely guy. I don't know him well, but, the few, interactions I've had with him, he seems a lovely guy. So, I was rooting for him for sure. And, just 10 birdies, I think it was, on Sunday. Unbelievable.
One more question, John.
Justin, the big events, Marion, gold medal, FedEx Cup. What do you know now about yourself and those big events that you would have told a 25-year-old Justin Rose?
Belief, I guess. I believe I can do it. I think until you've done it, sometimes those achievements they seem insurmountable at times, especially when you're not on top of your game. Winning a major or winning a FedEx Cup or, like you said, gold medal, that's an opportunity that doesn't come around every day. So, when you're not playing well, those seem, so far away. But, that's the thing that I've learned, is that you're only one swing away or one round of golf away from really changing everything and, and finding your confidence and getting on a run. So, should I go through another or a brief dip in form, I'll always realize that they're possible and those dreams are out there and those results are still possible, and just to kind of keep believing. And, as a 25-year-old, you hope, but you don't necessarily believe. I think, certainly I didn't. You're capable of it, but again, it just feels far away. But now for me, I've experienced it enough times, or more than once, to realize that you just keep doing what you do. Perseverance, I guess. Belief and perseverance. Perseverance is another great word for that.
Great. Thank you for your time, Justin. All the best this week.
Thank you, guys.